everyone, and welcome back to Banjo Tooie on the Nintendo 64. I am one Welsh Sheep yet again, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to make a quick trip back to Spiral Mountain because there is a Jinjo in here that we need to pick up, as well as make our way towards Cheeto, the cheat book, yet again, because, well, we need to turn in our cheats because there is a new code available to us, and it is it's a code that's can be either extremely useful or the opposite of useful depending on your playstyle of this game entirely. Because if you recall, I mentioned before that I like to suicide every now and then in this game just to speedrun my way back to doing certain things quicker. Well, this cheat book will make that job a tiny bit harder, because the cheat we are about to pick up is the ability to not take fall damage. It's fall proof, and I don't know, sometimes I like this cheat because it means I can backtrack in quicker ways in one regard, but it also means my suicide tactic of backtracking to places quicker is not viable anymore, which can be a little bit annoying. So yeah, like I said, depending on your playstyle, you may either want to use this or you want to avoid it entirely. It's entirely up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to play the game. It's it all depends on your playstyle personally, but yeah, I digress. Anyway, the world that we're going to in this part is how can I put this? It's probably not probably, it's my least favorite world in the entire game. It is without a doubt one of the more frustrating, it is one of the most frustrating levels in the whole game. And that's because to get anything done in this level, well, simply put, you're gonna need to go through a lot of red tape. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? What can I tell you? Indeed. Yes. But basically, yeah, the next world is Grunty's Industries, which actually feels more like a closer to final level than it actually is. Like, it definitely feels like, to the left, you dipshit, is a corner piece. Yeah, it's one of those stages where, by all intents and purposes, it feels endgame, because it's the closest thing this game really has to a full-blown proper Gruntilda lair, because for some reason there is no real world like towards the end that really feels like an end world sort of level, which kind of really confuses me somewhat. Like, this world by here is the closest we'll get to a level that feels like end game in terms of a normal full-blown stage, but of course, I say that, but there is technically a final world that is technically end game and extremely climactic, but I don't really consider that to be its own level, more so like just the sort of final set piece up until the final boss. I mainly consider that, but I'm getting quite a bit ahead of myself. It won't be for another 10 or so parts till we see that. But yeah, we've now unlocked Grunty's Industries, which, like I said, is enough fond. Not too fond. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? I really wish there was a way to speed up this crystal jiggy animation as well, because after the first, like, maybe once or twice this thing goes off, it does start to get quite a bit older. You know, it gets old very quick, you know, ladies and gentlemen. Quagmire? Okay, this stage is named, this area of the Isle of Hags is named after a Family Guy character. Cool! Although I'm pretty sure that this game predates my, whatever, Family Guy, but that's beside that point. Hoi. But one thing I will say that I do like about Grunty's Industries is the way we actually enter the world is slightly different to what you would expect. Because you'd normally expect, oh, go through the entrance, bada bing, bada boom, you're in the world. And that's kind of how it works, yeah. But in order to really gain access to the world properly, we can't enter the actual building in the Industries stage. Basically, we can't access the main level right from the get-go as a little bit of a puzzle that we need to solve to get inside, which I really do appreciate. But anyways, just pop on back to Honeybee to gain ourselves a fantastic health increase, because you know, having extra health is pretty damn dope. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? What can I tell you? Indeed. Yes. But to get to the Quagmire section of the Isle of Hags, we basically need to pop on over to the wasteland over here and gain access to the spring step shoes to jump on up. And if you notice, the digger that Grunty uses, it can climb up 90-degree walls. How the damn hell does it do I want that's some pretty damn impressive technology. I'm impressed. And trust me, it takes a lot to impress me. That's a lie. I'm very easily impressed. Oh. No, I don't want to fight that guy anyway. But yeah, welcome to the Quagmire, and this is actually the area closest to the end game portion of the game, but you can probably tell by the grim atmosphere. It definitely feels like England and Wales. It definitely feels like the UK in terms of how this place looks, just because it's all dark, it's all rainy, it's wet, it's muddy. Oy. And I wish I was saying that as a joke. Seriously, the UK has terrible weather. It always has, it always will. Except for sometimes in the summer. Sometimes in the summertime, the UK gets, like, sunlight. On rare instances. But for the most part, you know, this country is basically known for being overcast weather, the country. But here we are. Welcome to Grunty's Industries. One of the worst levels in the entire game. And not only is it annoying, it's also killing the N64 frame rate. The frame rate in this stage goes and drops an absolute mile. And as I have said before in the past, that this game does push the N64 to its absolute limits. I'm pretty sure that if the game was given more development time, they probably could have smoothed out the frame rate issues, and they could have made the game a lot smoother for launch, but as far as from what I'm aware, the game actually got kind of rushed out at the very end of its development to get it out, because the GameCube was pretty much it was either just on the horizon or it was out at the same time this game got released, you know, ladies and gentlemen. So this is basically one of the last hurrahs of the N64, and as a result, it does have a lot of frame rate issues at points. But of course I say that, but the N64 as a whole isn't a stranger to frame rate issues. The damn console's littered with games with bad frame rate. Like, the only games I know of that really do have amazing frame rate is stuff like arcade games and Nintendo first party titles, you know? But I digress. Anyway, what we need to do in this world is, the first things first, grab that train switch, because we cannot actually enter this world without that train switch. It is the only way to gain access to Grunty's Industries. And you might notice as well, I blew out a window as we entered as well. You're going to want to do that for when we actually gain access to the initial building itself, but yeah, it basically is a lot of red tape to get anything done in this world. What can I tell you? But again, we need to pop on over to Chuffy the train because, well, simply put, we need the train to gain access to Grunty's Industries. And I actually do really like this. I do like the idea that Grunty did the smart thing with her own warehouse facility. She did the smart thing and locked the door. Like, if more supervillains just flat out locked the door to stop us from gaining entry, you know, ladies and gentlemen, then games would be a much more difficult experience. Let's just say that. But unfortunately for her, we can still gain access through the way that the workers actually gain access to her, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is probably the most realistic level in the entire game. In the fact, it's just flat out a warehouse. That's all it is. Like, it's just a warehouse. And it's a really grim and dark and depressing warehouse, but let's be honest, what warehouses aren't dark, grim, and depressing? This is probably the most realistic stage in the whole game. Like, and the thing is kind of weird is, for the most part, it's actually laid out like a real warehouse and a real facility like this would be laid out as well, you know? You have workers' quarters where the workers go and rest. You have like the train station by here for workers to gain access to the place. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it's oh, actually, no, I say that, but I don't think many warehouses in real life are train stations. But that's beside the point. Basically, what I'm trying to say is everything's logical in this place. You know, it makes sense. There's rooms for storage. There's rooms for waste disposal. There's security cameras everywhere, which you need to deal with. For example, up here, if those security cameras actually do catch you, an alarm will play, and basically you will have to deal with these really annoying enemy types. I think they're called clinkers. I'm not actually sure. But they're really annoying enemy types where you have to use the grenade eggs to take them out, and they will home in on you, and they're not cool. They're very annoying enemies, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But, you know, your first time through this world will probably be nothing but stress and frustration, because it's probably one of the more easier worlds to get lost in as well. Because, like I said, everything is realistically laid out to a fault, to the point that, you know, you'll likely get lost trying to figure out your way around the place, and you need to look at the signs and all the doors and stuff in order to figure out what room you're in, and so on and so forth, ladies and gentlemen. And first things first is blow up the toilet, because, hey, Logo! I remember you from Banjo Tooie. You had an egg on top of you, and you had, you flushed me down, and I don't want to remember that. That was rather depressing. That was not a proud moment in my life. But yeah, basically, Logo's back, so what we need to do here is, unblock him! Ew. Ew. But basically, yeah, unblock Logo, and we'll gain access to a fantastic Cheeto page. I do love me my Cheeto pages. And one thing that's kind of handy, well, not handy, one thing that's kind of neat about this particular area of Grunty's Industries is from time to time you may see a light under one of the bathroom doors, one of the toilet doors. This didn't happen in my playthrough, and it's a very small percentage of it actually spawning in, which is why I didn't go out of my way to try and show it off. But basically, if you see a bit of light under that door there, what you'll see is basically there'll be a line of dialogue where it's just like, oh no, I shouldn't have eaten my food or whatever, and it's basically a toilet having a nice lovely crap. And it's filled with humorous lines of dialogue. Oh, like, oh god, my fingers went through the toilet paper. Oh no! You know, it's a bit of toilet humor, which Rareware is known for and loved for. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? Kind of feel sorry for that guy. He got kind of wrecked. But you might have noticed as well throughout the course of the facility, there are loads of non-enemy NPCs lying about, you know, loads of actual workers who work in this dreaded place. And we'll be dealing with them and doing a side quest involving them pretty much just before we finish up this world, so in about 2 parts time. But, you know, just so you know, that not everyone in this place is an enemy, not everyone here is out for blood, and I always do appreciate that. Because, you know, Rareware could have easily made it so everybody works for Gruntilda here, so therefore everybody knows, okay, attack the bear. But no, it's not like that. All of Gruntilda's workers that work in this godforsaken hellhole, you know, they're just doing their jobs, and they're just going to ignore you for the most part. The only ones that go chase after you are the typical minion-type enemies that Gruntilda has, you know, folks. Which I do appreciate. Hoi. But anyway, without now, we've actually accessed the front door, so we don't actually need to use the train to get in and out of this place anymore. And we're going to need to use our brand new suction boot powers to go on up and enter that window that I actually blew up once we first entered the world. And basically, every time you see paw prints on a wall, you can use you can use the suction cups on them to go up the wall, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, this Jiggy I'm about to go after, I don't think the game wants you to get this as early as I do. I think the game wants you to wait until you get an ability to glide way later down the line. But if you're good enough with the jumps, you can actually make this without any problems whatsoever. And you know, if you make this jump, then you'll have to deal with these geezers, and basically what I recommend is just jump down, jump on one of these pipes, get your grenade eggs out. If you have the homing egg ability on, you know, the homing egg cheat, this will help out a little bit, but basically just blow these up from a distance far away until the Jiggy comes out. It's an easy one to get, and honestly, like I say, I don't think the game wants you to get this as early as I do, but I don't care if I can get it this early. I bloody will get it this early, you know, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this world is filled with red tape on everything. I'm kind of content that this is one of the most simple ones to get. Actually, I think this is pretty much one of the maybe 2 or 3 Jiggies in the whole level that is straightforward. Half the Jiggies take a lot of effort to get in this level, including, well, actually, especially one such Jiggy way later on that involves the boss fight of this world, because the boss fight of this world, oh my god, don't get me started. Like, the boss is brilliant, I love the boss fight, but getting to the boss is a bloody nightmare. You have to go from one point to another point to push a button in order to transform, which then there's a lot of things that you need to do in a row to... Basically, this world's a pain in the bloody arse, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But, I digress. Also, you might have noticed when we first enter the world, there is actually a battery pack outside, which I'm actually going to go and grab as Banjo now. You need to be Banjo solo quite a bit in this world to grab these battery packs, because these battery packs are littered throughout. They power up all the machinery in the world, and they open up doorways and what have you that you normally cannot otherwise go to. So, you know, you basically need to go to these battery packs as Banjo, get the taxi pack out, hit the batteries with your backpack to stun them, because otherwise they'll run away. I kind of feel sorry for them, because, like, the battery packs in this game are sentient. They have eyeballs, they bounce around, they actively try to get away from you. It makes me feel real sorry for them. I don't know. Kind of reminds me of, I think it was Ratchet and Clank, where there was a similar thing where there were like battery packs littered about. I could be wrong, it might not be Ratchet and Clank, but there was another game series I played before where there was sentient battery packs lying about, and they looked terrified when you picked them up and put them in the right slots, and it always made me feel sorry for them. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel less sorry for these battery packs because they don't really have too much personality other than they bounce around a lot, but I don't know, I'm sort of rambling at this point. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? What can I tell you? Indeed. Yes. Rather. But opening up this passageway by here, we can't really do much in this room just yet. But we are going to want to get Banjo in here anyway, just to get this power up here, which is the Snooze Pack. And we're going to put this to use pretty much almost immediately. There's not many instances in this game where you're going to need to use this ability, because what it basically is it puts Banjo to sleep. That's all there is to it. Like, he goes in his backpack and he rests. Now, what is the relevance of this, you might wonder? Well, it heals you. And if we recall, back in Pterodactyl Land, there was a crushing sequence, for example. To get through said crushing sequence in Pterodactyl Land, well, we can't get that Jiggy for quite a long while, by the way, so just don't bother with it. But basically, you will always be limited down to 1 health after that, and if you use the Snooze Pack, well, then you can basically MacGyver your way through crushing sequences, and that's mainly what the Snooze Pack is going to be utilized for as well, you know, ladies and gentlemen. It's also going to be used for just to heal you up as well in this world, probably, because the enemies are quite vicious here, I will be perfectly honest. In fact, this world and the final world in particular have pretty vicious enemies that really go out of their way to attack you. Actually, and the next world after this, you can tell we're getting quite close-ish to the end game, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, the enemies from this point onwards are going to be a bit more out of their way. They're going to try and stop you more. You know, they still probably won't do anything to stop you that much, because the enemies are still pretty damn easy to avoid and take out, but you know, they're a lot more violent. That's the main point I'm trying to make here. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? But anyways, just pop back in here and reunite Banjo and Kazooie. I could have probably jumped into the toxic sludge as Banjo and just suicided to reunite with Kazooie, but That didn't apply to me. That didn't. I didn't think about that when I was playing the game. So sorry. You just have to watch me backtrack a little bit. It's really not much backtrack. It's like 30 seconds or so, you know. But I digress. But yeah, we basically want to be able to get the Jiggy in this room until after we beat the final world. That's how late in the game that Jiggy will become available to us, ladies and gentlemen, because we'll need a power-up that we get way later on to access it, which is kind of frustrating. Of course, much like with all the other worlds in the game as well, I absolutely love the soundtrack of this one. It's very catchy, and it's a good thing it's very catchy as well, because, like I said, this world's annoying. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I've already bitched and moaned about how much red tape there is and things, and you'll see firsthand in probably the next part how bad this world can actually get in terms of exploring. Like, there's a lot of effort to get anything done in this world, even when you know what you're doing, you know, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can spend hours upon hours wandering around in this world, lost, trying to figure out, okay, what do I do next? Basically, this is probably my... You know what? No, it is my least favorite world in the game. I think I said that already. It's just quite disappointing. Now, if you're good enough with your jumps, you can actually MacGyver your way past these crushers so you don't actually get hit by them. But it is really tricky to do so, so I just advise grabbing the snooze pack just before you enter this room, just as a little bit of extra insurance so you don't, you don't die. And you do need to enter this room as solo Banjo as well. You can't just get Kazooie and just hover over. You need solo Banjo in order to access the switch to open up the door. How the switch can tell that I'm only solo Banjo and not Banjo Kazooie is, I don't know. Maybe it's set to only activate if a certain weight limit is on there? But, yeah, you basically need the snooze pack for this room, you know. And as I actually showed it off there, you don't actually need the snooze pack to get this Jiggy. Because if you know how to maneuver with Banjo's double jump, that I already said isn't meant to be in the game in the first place. But, you know, if you know how to use it effectively, you can just jump past the crushing piles. But it's always nice to have the nice little bit of insurance, so... You know, you're not too much in danger of dying. What can I tells ya? What can I tells ya? Indeed. Yes. But one thing you'll also notice as well is this. Well, not so much notice, but one thing that will help you sort of explore this world a little bit easier is the fact the world is segmented. Like the world is segmented to basically outside. Floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, roof, and that's basically a nice easy way to think about how to tackle exploring this world. You know, just think of each area of the, each portion of the world as its own little segmented world. That's a nice way I always figured out on how to explore. I always explore all of one area, then I move on to the next area to try and figure out what I have to do there, you know, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah. Anyway, when we get up to floor 2 by here, we do need to go up and destroy these panels. Because we're going to be making use of this particular air ventilation shaft a little bit later on, and those panels will need to be destroyed for what we'll be doing, you know, ladies and gentlemen. So trust me, go out of your way right now, chuck the grenade eggs on them, explode everything, and bada bing, bada boom. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? Hoi. But what you'll sort of find as well in this sort of world is, while it's a pain in the arse to explore, and while there's so much red tape around and everything, as you start getting closer and closer to the end of the world, pieces of what you're meant to be doing actually start to fall in place a little bit more. So you're going to be finding yourself, basically wandering around aimlessly for the first half hour to 40-50 minutes. But after that time is over, then you'll notice that everything's going to start falling into place. You're going to start picking things up and collecting things very quickly. And oh my god, these lighting effects look magnificent for N64. Hoi. It's like in Perfect Dark as well. Like, if anyone's ever played Perfect Dark in the N64, That game looks bloody magnificent for an N64 title. The frame rate's atrocious, but to be honest, I'm sort of expected that from Rareware, N64 era Rareware at this point, where at points the frame rate will just be crap. But I don't know, the lighting in that one air ventilation shaft just reminds me so much of Perfect Dark, and that was one of the things in Perfect Dark that blew me away the first time I played the game, you know? But I digress. But anyway, we're not going to explore floor 3 just yet, because as I said, I do treat this world really segmentedly. I go through each floor and explore the entirety of them before I move on to the next, and there's quite a bit more of floor 2 to explore, you know, ladies and gentlemen. There's quite a bit more to uncover in this floor. For example, there's an extra area down at the back of floor 1, which we can only access through floor 2, which basically leads to the outside again, but it's basically the back entrance. It's the back door of the sorting building, and you're going to want to open this up because we are going to want to visit the outside areas of this place pretty shortly. I'm not sure if we're going to be visiting it in this part or if we're going to see it in the next part, but we will be seeing that's the outside area, you know, rather shortly, relatively, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But I digress. What can I tell you? But this is usually a point in the playthrough, no, not so much the playthrough, the point in the level where I usually find myself really frustrated and just bored. Like, I honestly do not like this world. It's probably the biggest black mark on this entire game. And loads of people would argue that there's a world like that in Banjo Tooie 1 as well, where loads of people absolutely despise Rusty Bucket Bay in the first Banjo Kazooie game. I don't despise that world though. This world's a completely different beast to Rusty Bucket Bay. Like, Rusty Bucket Bay was a hard world, but it was still easy to explore, and everything was easy to find and figure out what to do. In this world, it isn't so much the case, you know? And I say this world's like a black spot on the game's quality. It's still a good level, you know? It's just in comparison to everything else, it's not as great, it's not as amazing, and I guess that goes to show how great a game Banjo Tooie really is. If the worst level in the game is still a good, well-designed-ish level, it's just loads of minor nuisances that will put you off. Like, it's very easy to get lost. It's very easy to find yourself getting frustrated and bored and fed up, you know? But in terms of how everything's laid out, it's a good stage in terms of it's very clearly intentionally designed like this to give you the sort of feeling like, oh crap, we're inside some sort of awful warehouse building, you know? I don't know, I'm probably talking complete bullshit at this point, but I digress. Anyway, we need to pop on up here as Kazooie to gain access to her leg spring ability, which is basically Kazooie's high jump. Unlike Banjo, Kazooie herself doesn't get equipped with a standard high jump when she's solo, so now grabbing hold of jam jars there will gain us access to her high jump powers. And Kazooie's high jump is significantly bigger than Banjo's high jump. It's ridiculous how much airtime you can gain with this sorting thing. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? What can I tell you? Indeed. But anyway, we had Banjo push on a switch on the ground as well earlier on, and basically that switch will open up a Jinjo. So it's time to head on all the way up to the basically where that Jinjo is, using these fantastic suction boots. I have to say, these are probably one of the more utilized power-ups in the entire game. They use quite a damn lot as you progress through. Like, you're going to see them used at least once in pretty much every world from this point onwards. It's kind of maddening to think so, especially considering the spring step shoes that we had in the previous worlds. They're very rarely used, so it's a nice change that these are used almost all the sorting time. But I digress. Anyway, with that is it for this part, so thank you all for watching, hope you all enjoyed, don't be sheepish people, and I'll catch you all next time as we continue exploring the rest of Grunty's Industries. Hoi. Bye!